Don't be surprised by the fact that we got to talking about a recent show, everyone. We cover those too. Welcome to the Creature Commandos talk. I am Gibson Shamar from Hikati Media, and I will be talking about what we think about the show. So get your guns ready and let's get into this Pakistani international incident. First, we're going to go through the main characters in the show, and then we'll talk about the show itself. It's 6 episodes, but there's quite a bit to unpack here. First off, we have Rick Flag Sr. He is Rick Flag Jr.'s father. Rick Flag Jr. is the guy we saw in the Suicide Squad movies, played by Joel Kinnaman. He takes the position of leader of the Creature Commandos given to him by Amanda Waller, who says that the Task Force X project has been shelved, but she found a loophole in the mandate and came up with the Creature Commandos. They basically do the exact same thing as the Suicide Squad. They just go by a different name. You know, legal stuff. Anyway, Rick is a stern guy, a competent military man, idealistic, and, as it turns out in the end, naive. Yeah, he's a lot like his son was shown to be. He has a very close working relationship with Amanda Waller, but they are not friends. He is also better at reining in his team than his son was. The Bride. She is also a tough-as-nails lady monster who was assembled by Dr. Eric Frankenstein to be the wife of another monster he made, who everyone calls Frankenstein. She was freaked out by Frankenstein's monster and fell for her creator, who somehow fell for her too. And when Monster Frankenstein found out, he killed the scientist, and she has been on the run ever since. We don't know how or why she got captured by Waller, but we see how useful she is to the team. She's not exactly level-headed, but the show tries to play her off as that. She is the perfect soldier, though. She takes orders, even controversial ones, without a second thought. And this time, Waller actually got her controversial order fulfilled. She becomes the leader of the team by the end of the season. She also develops a friendship with Nina Mazursky and protects her throughout the show, showing that even though she's violent and merciless, she has a caring side. Third is Dr. Phosphorus. He's a guy who has a radioactive body that kind of shows his skeleton and is green. I don't know if he radiates acid or if he makes fire. Either way, he melts things either at a distance or through physical contact. You also can't be near him for too long, otherwise you get radiation sickness. He was a family man in Gotham and was tasked with doing research for Rupert Thorne it was never made clear what exactly it was. Rupert Thorne thought that he wasn't doing anything and put him in a giant microwave thing. That was after killing his wife and child and putting Phosphorus's DNA all over it. His name was Alexander Sartorius before his transformation. I had to put that in there since his name is barely ever mentioned. It was kind of hard to remember it. Phosphorus went for revenge after his transformation and became a crime lord, which is what got him captured by Batman and eventually sent to Bel Rev, where Waller reigns. He's not very present in the show, and what he displays is apathy. He's apathetic towards everything and just does whatever is required of him. I wouldn't say that he has fun doing what he does, but he certainly finds joy in killing, even though he wouldn't if he wasn't told to. I feel like there are layers to this guy's character the more I talk about him. Weasel. Weasel. He's an whatever that word is, weasel that has 2 lazy eyes and doesn't speak. He understands English, I think. Sometimes he reacts to it and other times he doesn't. He was in the Suicide Squad according to the show's very messy timeline. Seriously, James Gunn, what the heck are you doing with the DC timeline? Well, he was accused of killing 8 children, or was it 27? I don't know. I remember it being in the 20s when I watched the Suicide Squad, but then this show comes up and says that it's 8, while Rick Flag insists that it's 27. Then the flashbacks show that it was 8 and he didn't kill them. Seriously, James Gunn, what are you doing with the DC timeline? Anyway, he is a tamed wild animal, kills on command, sleeps, has frequent nightmares, and despite seeming like just some random animal, actually has a conscience. I found it weird that they went for the whole misunderstood monster thing with Weasel, because he's straight up a villain in the comics. Yeah, I knew about him before he appeared in this show and before the Suicide Squad. I didn't know his entire comic book story, but I knew that he was a villain through and through. Oh, well, I guess when we make lesser known characters appear in movies and stuff, we can just do whatever we want with them. Right, Mr. Gunn? Next up, Nina Mazursky. She didn't have a code name in the show. I haven't seen any comics she's included in, so she's a blank slate for me. She has the power to breathe underwater due to experimentation her father performed on her when she was a child. She was born with lungs outside her body, and her mother couldn't bear to raise her, even though her father did. Her mother left them, and her father kept raising her. He eventually experimented on her so that she would no longer need to walk around with a metal casing around her body. Instead, she needed a type of fishbowl over her head. He then had the genius idea to send her to school so that she could interact with people other than her father. It didn't go well, as expected, and she ran away, causing a situation where he ended up getting killed when she was captured. Yeah, it's sad. She is a kind person, considerate, and very intelligent. She is passionate and caring. She has no business being in this kind of business at all. That's why the bride took a liking to her. She was innocent. We also have the ever so enthusiastic GI robot. He's a robot that was made in World War II by the Allied forces in order to kill members of the Third Reich. He had his platoon with him, and they went on many missions together until he was eventually deactivated when there was no use for him anymore. He was reactivated by a guy who liked to collect antique wartime items, and he gave GI Robot a home and everything. After what looked like months of bonding, he took him to a gathering of neo-supporters of the Third Reich. And, well, GI Robot is a robot, and he did what he was programmed to. We don't know what happened for him to be captured and put in the prison, Bel Rev. He is a very cheerful guy. Hearing him talk is kind of sad. He is very patriotic, very driven, and is an excitable and likable fellow. He forms a nice friendship with Nina. Now that we're done with the actual commandos, we can talk about the other characters. There's Amanda Waller. She is the cold, ruthless head of the whole operation. She is mean, calculating, and willing to do whatever it takes to rein in all the freaks and weirdos that she has at her disposal. This is not a woman to be trifled with, believe it. She is not one to sass with either. Do not ever cross this woman in any way. She has a tough exterior and all of that, but she is also patient and willing to listen in order to make sure that she is getting all the right details and relevant information. I bet you thought I was going to say that she is soft on the inside, right? Nah, none of that. She's just cold and heartless inside and out. It's weird that she has a daughter, but then again, she probably just had one for reproductive purposes. Then we have Cersei. No, not that one. No, not that one. Jeez, dude. Yeah, that's the one. She's a rogue Amazonian witch who runs amok in the world of man now. She's the bad guy that the commandos have been assigned to take out. She has magical powers and is clairvoyant, as in she can see the future. She can also influence one's mind by the sounds of it. At least that's what they said in the show. I don't know if it's true or not. Not much is known about her aside from the fact that she was a cast out even among the Amazons on Themyscira. I'm liking this kind of complexity. It seems that this universe doesn't have them be as harmonious as in the DCEU or Worlds of DC, a name that the studio gave but the fans and media outlets didn't want to consider. Anyway, from the little screen time she got, we could see that she has the power of influence over masses. Or it could just be a spell she cast. She is sassy and honest. Even though she does messed up things, she tells the truth, and it can be theorized that she feels bad about always being overlooked or not trusted. Then finally we have Princess Ilana. Wait, what? This lady here is actually very nice looking. She's very easy on the eyes, and that accent, my gosh. Well, she is the princess of Pakistan and is a very clever one. She is very naughty, has a keen eye for detail, and is a mastermind at manipulation. She knows how to play with people's thoughts and emotions. Although we never got to see just why she was such a problem that Cersei had to do everything she did, we could at least see that she wasn't a black and white concept. She wasn't just some damsel. I mean, yeah, she couldn't fight, and the only person who went after her was Nina, who wouldn't harm a fly. Seriously, though, well, Ilana was a nice character. She was foolhardy and to some extent arrogant, even though I wouldn't necessarily blame her. She is royalty. Arrogance comes with the position. She also trusted her security very much, which at least shows that she ran the country well enough even in times of conflict. The only problem was that the enemy forces weren't the conventional enemies. They were very different, very messed up. So then, on to the show. I had a fun time watching the show. I had to make sure I got it. It wasn't easy to get it the uh, legal way. Some episodes were in a different format from the others. I had to use different softwares to watch some of the episodes. It was a real mess, but I got through it. It was a good show. The experience watching it was interesting because it took me a while to decide what to watch after finishing Rocco's Modern Life. I went for something new, something conventional. Creature Commandos seemed like the right way to go. So, the show. It was well produced. I liked that it had an opening sequence, not just a title sequence. There was a huge difference there from the way they usually do things nowadays. I didn't really like the art style at first, but it grew on me over time. I still prefer the DCAMU art style over this, but we take what we can get. I don't make the rules, I don't make the animations, I can only live with what I'm given. The characters are interesting and they are all well developed. I really like the thing with Rick Flag and Amanda Waller. They had a pretty cool relationship. It's just weird that Waller has like an assembly line of flags ready for missions. Seriously, dude, she got your son killed because he said something about her shirt. Seriously, I looked it up. I don't get it. The comics say that Flag is an A-list leader, but in the movies, well, the first Suicide Squad had him not be the leader, with that role being taken by Will Smith's Deadshot. Even in the second one, where he was more involved in the action than before, he was still not the leader. And then this Flag did a better job at leading, but still ultimately failed and was permanently replaced by the Bride, who, by the way, is not the leader in the comics. Frankenstein is. But then again, these aren't very popular characters, so you can do whatever you want with them. Right, Mr. Gunn? The story was simple and had a clear direction throughout, but there were things that ended up being underwhelming. One thing was Frankenstein. He had this cool potential in the story, but then ended up contributing absolutely nothing to the overall plot, aside from saving Rick Flag's life from Clayface. Remove him from the show's present day narrative, and you won't get anything different. I mean, I thought there was going to be some sort of payoff in the end when he tells the bride about Alana, but nope. The whole thing was played for laughs, and I was like, bro, come on. You had something going there, and you decided to Thor Ragnarok it by making it funny when it should have been serious. Yes, I hate that movie, and one day I'll do a how I would have done it based on that movie. The character of Cersei was also a waste. I didn't see anything particularly special about her aside from her being from Themyscira and Wonder Woman not doing anything to stop her rampage in the world of men. It's weird. I do like how they address the sexism of the Amazonians, even though it won't be developed much because times are different and it's whatever year you're watching this video in. She didn't have that much screen time despite being marketed as the show's main villain. I get that the actual villain was a twist villain, but I think that she was mishandled in a way. I didn't quite like the ending either. It felt very anticlimactic. There wasn't much. I get that it was a 6 episode cartoon and can't have global implications or have some super huge world ending fight, but it was really underwhelming compared to what I was expecting from it. Plus, the show was just really short. They need to stop adopting this handful of episodes per season habit they're developing. Yeah, sure, the cast is expensive, but you gotta get some sort of balance with it. Give the shows longer time and make them properly. Stop giving them 3 years between seasons, too. That's actually kind of silly. Seriously, I feel like G.I. Robot should have stayed dead. There was no point in bringing him back in an upgraded body. His story could have been done the way it was and would carry on the spirit of the Suicide Squad where no one is safe. I mean, yeah, sure, Nina died, but we could have used more. I know that this isn't the Suicide Squad, so deaths aren't necessary, but the context that this show brings is that it actually is basically a Suicide Squad. It's run by Waller. They're criminals and they have to obey or get their heads blown off. Yep, that's all there. They just go by a different name. I hope that they become an independent thing like they are in the comics, or at least independent from Waller. I hope she goes back to running Task Force X. I also hope that Frankenstein gets together with the bride. Seriously, I mean, it didn't have to happen in the first season, but it can happen as the show goes on. It could all be part of the grand design. Or it could be like poetry and rhyme. I guess we'll have to see. We got recent news that the show's second season is being worked on. Hopefully, they work out some of the bugs I mentioned in this talk. A pet peeve of mine was killing Clayface. I mean, couldn't he have just been knocked out and then contained? Why kill him? And how is he that easy to kill? Seriously, that's all it takes? Electrocuting him? Dang, man. I thought he was tougher than that. Or maybe, hopefully, he's not dead. We'll see. My favorite character of the show was Dr. Phosphorus. I don't know why, there was just something about him. But my favorite thing about the show was the fights between Rick Flag and the enemies that he faced off. That fight he had with Dr. Phosphorus was amazing. The fight he had with Clayface was also amazing. It seems that the best fights were between Rick Flag and the others. Because it was like, he's so outmatched, but he's really trying his darn hardest to survive this. And he barely does. Anyway, that's what we've got time to say in this video. Please check out our Facebook page, our Instagram page, and the rest of our channel here for more cool content. There's a lot of stuff we can talk about and will and have. Have a good day.